The heavy doors of the Fulton County Courthouse swung open, and Benjamin Wallace strode through like he owned the place. His navy suit was sharp, tailored to perfection, but it was the woman on his arm that made heads turn. Simone Carter, fitness influencer, lifestyle blogger, 26 years old, with 3.2 million followers and a smile that never quite reached her eyes. And there, waiting inside, was Tiana, his wife, sitting in that wheelchair, hands folded in her lap, staring at nothing. Benjamin didn't even glance her way as he grabbed the pen. "I'm done," he announced, voice carrying across the room like he wanted witnesses. "Done being tied down to someone who can't even take care of herself, let alone our family." The pen moved across the paper. Signatures, stamps, 6 years of marriage gone. Judge Hamilton, an older black woman who'd seen too many stories like this one, shook her head slowly but said nothing. Benjamin picked up his briefcase and walked past Tiana like she was invisible. Paused at the door just long enough to twist the knife deeper. "Good luck making it without me." Then he was gone. Left the mother of his son. Left the woman who'd built him up when he had absolutely nothing. Left her sitting there, drowning in shame while his new life waited outside in red-bottom heels. Have you ever watched someone you loved become a stranger? Have you ever been thrown away the second you stopped being useful? Keep watching, because what this man didn't know was that the woman he just destroyed was about to become richer than he could ever imagine. And she was about to teach him the most expensive lesson of his life. But before we get into it, smash that subscribe button right now if you believe in comebacks. Drop a comment telling me where you're watching from and if you've ever had someone count you out who shouldn't have. Now let's rewind to the night everything changed. Southside Atlanta. A Tuesday evening in September. Tiana Wallace had been driving home from a community fundraiser in Buckhead. She'd worn the emerald dress Benjamin loved, smiled for photos, played the perfect supportive wife while her husband networked with investors and entrepreneurs who'd turned startups into empires. Benjamin was building something, Wallace Capital Group, his investment firm. Small office in Midtown, big dreams, and even bigger debt. But Tiana? She was the secret weapon. The woman who remembered everyone's name, their kids' birthdays, their mama's favorite flowers. She built bridges while Benjamin closed deals. They were a team, or so she thought. The call came at 9:52 p.m. Their son, little Kamal, only 4 years old, was burning up with fever. 103 degrees. The babysitter was freaking out. "I'm on my way," Tiana said, already reaching for her keys. Benjamin barely looked up from his conversation with Vernon Hayes, a tech investor who was this close to writing a check. "Handle it," he muttered. "I'm working." She'd driven too fast. Peachtree Street curves like a snake, especially at night. The Audi, Benjamin's gift, his status symbol, had taken that curve at 50 when she should have done 30. The pickup truck came out of nowhere. Impact. Binning. Glass everywhere. Metal screaming. Her body whipping forward and then, crack. The sound of her spine breaking was quieter than she expected. Almost like a branch snapping underfoot. She woke up 3 days later at Grady Hospital. Machines beeping. White walls. Benjamin is sitting in the corner, scrolling through his phone. "You're up," he said. Not relief, just a fact. "Kamal. He's fine. Fever broke. You panicked for nothing." Her body felt wrong. Heavy. Disconnected. She tried to move her legs. Nothing. Dr. Aisha Bennett entered, young, brilliant, the kind of surgeon who'd worked miracles but couldn't perform them. Her face told the story before her mouth did. "The impact fractured your T11 and T12 vertebrae. We stabilized you, but Tiana, the damage to your spinal cord is severe. You're paraplegic. Paralyzed from the waist down." The word hung in the air like smoke. Benjamin stood up. "Permanently? We'll explore every option available, but realistically." "So she's stuck like this?" It wasn't a question. Dr. Bennett's jaw tightened. "Your wife just survived major trauma. Let's focus on—" "I need to make some calls." Benjamin was already at the door. "Text me updates." He left. Tiana stared at the ceiling, tears sliding down her temples into her hair. and she understood something that would take months to fully accept. The man she married had just started calculating her worth. And in his math, she'd become worthless. The first month after the accident, Benjamin played devoted husband on Instagram. Photos of Tiana in the hospital, him holding her hand, captions about fighting together, and stronger than ever, with praying hands emojis. But at home, in their townhouse in East Point, he moved into the spare bedroom. "You need space for your equipment," he said. The hospital bed, the wheelchair, the parallel bars for physical therapy. She couldn't afford because, surprise, Benjamin's company insurance had a loophole about pre-existing conditions. He stopped touching her, stopped looking at her, started taking calls in other rooms, voice low, laughing at things that weren't funny enough to laugh at alone. Tiana tried everything. Learned to transfer from bed to wheelchair by herself. Pushed through physical therapy until her arms screamed and her therapist, a patient woman named Nicole, begged her to rest. "Benjamin," she said one morning over coffee he didn't drink. He was doing intermittent fasting now. "I got accepted into that virtual program. Nonprofit consulting. Fundraising strategy. We talked about this before the accident." "That's nice." Eyes on his phone. Always texting. "It pays well. I could help with bills." He finally looked up. "Tiana, you can barely get yourself to the bathroom. How are you gonna work?" "I'm still me." "No, you're not." He stood and grabbed his keys. "The woman I married had a life, had energy, could keep up. Now you're this." He gestured vaguely at her wheelchair. "And I'm supposed to just accept it? In sickness and in health." Was before we knew sick meant forever. He walked out. The door closing sounded like a coffin lid. Tiana discovered Simone the way every betrayed wife does, by accident. Kamal wanted to FaceTime Daddy. Tiana used Benjamin's iPad. He'd left it unlocked on the kitchen counter. A notification popped up. "Simone, last night was incredible. Can't wait for tonight. Room 512. Wear what I like smirking face. Timestamp, 6:38 a.m. today." Tiana's hands went numb. She opened the messages. Scrolled. 6 months of conversations. Photos. Videos she closed immediately because some things, once seen, burn into your brain forever. The affair started 3 weeks after her accident. While she was in the hospital learning to catheterize herself, he was at the W Hotel in Midtown with a fitness influencer whose biggest accomplishment was a sponsorship deal with a protein shake company. Tiana didn't scream, didn't cry, didn't throw the iPad. She took screenshots, every message, every photo, sent them to her own email, deleted the evidence that she'd seen anything. When Benjamin came home that night, late, smelling like perfume that wasn't hers, she said nothing. "You're quiet," he said, almost suspicious. "Tired. Long day with Kamal." He nodded, relieved. She was still playing the role. But Tiana wasn't playing anymore. She was planning. And what she was about to discover would change everything. But we'll get to that in a minute. First, drop a like if you think betrayal always comes back around. And comment karma if you know Benjamin's about to regret everything. And make sure you are subscribed, like, and share this video. Benjamin filed for divorce 3 months later. Didn't even tell her himself. Papers arrived via FedEx, like an Amazon package. Petition for dissolution of marriage. Grounds, irreconcilable differences. His lawyer, a shark named Gerald Pierce, had written a masterpiece of cruelty. The petition claimed Tiana was unable to fulfill marital duties. Her disability created undue burden. Kamal would be better served in his father's stable, active household. She read it 3 times, each word a small death. Benjamin came home that evening, found her at the kitchen table, papers spread out like crime scene evidence. "You couldn't even tell me to my face." He had the nerve to look annoyed. "I knew you'd be dramatic." "Dramatic? You're taking my son. He needs a parent who can actually parent. You can barely get yourself dressed. How you gonna chase a 4-year-old? I'm still his mother. You're a liability." He grabbed a water bottle from the fridge, casual, like they were discussing the weather. "Simone and I are getting married. She's already great with Kamal. He calls her Miss Mimi. It's cute. The room tilted. You introduced our son to your mistress? She's not, we're serious. She makes me happy. She's alive. She wants to travel, go hiking, and be spontaneous. I can't do any of that with you. Then leave, Tiana said, voice steady as stone. But don't you dare take Kamal. Benjamin's smile was cruel. Already done. My lawyers are better than anything you can afford. And just so you know, the house is mine. The car is mine. The accounts are mine. You signed a postnup 5 years ago, remember? When we refinanced. She remembered. She'd signed without reading, trusting him. You got 30 days to move out, Benjamin said. I'm being generous. He left her sitting there in the kitchen of the home she'd decorated. And Tiana realized she'd married a man who only loved her when she was useful. The divorce hearing was brutal. Gerald Pierce was 6'3" of Morehouse arrogance in a tailored suit. He painted Tiana as dependent, unstable, and incapable. Mrs. Wallace, can you demonstrate how you'd evacuate Kamal in case of fire? There are protocols. So you'd rely on strangers to save your son? Her lawyer, a kind but overmatched public defender named Raymond Brooks, objected weakly. Overruled. Can you drive Kamal to school? I'm working on getting a modified vehicle. So, currently no? Not yet, but can you physically stop Kamal if he's running toward danger? The questions kept coming. Each one was designed to humiliate, to prove she was less than. Benjamin testified. Said she'd become obsessed with her condition. Said Kamal needed normalcy. Said Simone was already a better mother figure because she could do things like go to the park. He never once looked at Tiana while he destroyed her. Judge Hamilton listened to everything, then ruled. Custody, Benjamin primary. Tiana supervised visits every other weekend. Assets, house to Benjamin. Car to Benjamin. Savings split 75-25 in his favor because he was the primary earner. Tiana left with $34,000, a storage unit full of belongings, and a shattered heart. Benjamin left with everything, including Simone, who waited outside in his Audi, scrolling through Instagram, not even pretending to care about the life she'd helped destroy. Tiana's new place was in College Park. Ground floor, 1 bedroom. Kamal's toys were stacked in a corner for visits supervised by a social worker named Patricia, who watched her like she might suddenly become dangerous. She'd been there 5 days when the mail came. Junk, bills, credit card offers, and 1 envelope. Cream-colored, heavy paper, international postage, return address, Meridian and Associates, Zurich, Switzerland. Tiana almost threw it away, an obvious scam, but something about the quality of the paper made her open it. Inside, a typed letter on letterhead so elegant it looked like art. Dear Ms. Tiana Rosalie Wallace, née Morrison. It is with profound sorrow that we inform you of the passing of your maternal grandmother, Mrs. Evelyn Rosalie Morrison, on November 28th. As per her last will, you are the sole beneficiary of the Morrison Legacy Trust, established in 1962. The trust holds controlling interests in Morrison International, a private conglomerate with ventures in technology, real estate, renewable energy, media, and humanitarian foundations across 4 continents. Per Mrs. Morrison's explicit instructions, full disclosure and transfer of assets occur on your 35th birthday, which our records indicate occurred last week, December 3rd. The current valuation of your inheritance is approximately $987 billion. We require your presence in Zurich to finalize the transfer. All arrangements will be provided. Our deepest sympathies for your loss. Respectfully, Henrik Meridian, Senior Counsel. Tiana read it 5 times. Then she started laughing, a broken, hysterical sound that echoed in her empty apartment. Billion. With AB. This was a joke. Had to be. Some elaborate scam. Or maybe Benjamin's final insult was to hire someone to mock her with fake money. But then she saw the photograph. Black and white. 1965 was written on the back. A black woman, sharp-jawed, fierce-eyed, standing in front of a factory. Workers behind her. She wore a simple dress and held a clipboard. She looked exactly like Tiana. The back had a note in faded ink. Morrison Manufacturing, Detroit. First day as majority owner. They said a black woman couldn't run a factory. I ran 12. ARM. Tiana's grandmother. The woman her mother never spoke about. The woman who'd supposedly died poor in Europe when Tiana was 8. Her mother, gone now, had breast cancer 3 years ago and had always avoided questions about Grandma Evelyn. Said they'd had a falling out. Said Evelyn was difficult. Tiana had never met her grandmother. Never even knew she was alive until this letter said she was dead. But looking at that photograph, at the face that mirrored her own, something clicked. She picked up her phone, called the number on the letter. A man answered immediately. Accent precise European. Meridian and Associates. Henrik Meridian speaking. This is Tiana Wallace. I received. Ms. Morrison. We've been expecting your call. A pause. My condolences for your loss, and for the unfortunate delay in reaching you. Your grandmother was most specific about the timing. Is this real? A long pause. Ms. Morrison, I've managed your grandmother's affairs for 28 years. Every word in that letter is factual. The Morrison Empire is very real. And as of your 35th birthday, it belongs entirely to you. Her apartment felt too small and too big, both at once. Why me? I never knew her. She knew you. She followed your life quite closely. Your education, your marriage, your accident, everything. Tiana's throat closed. She watched me lose everything and never. The trust terms were absolute. No contact before your 35th birthday. She believed her words, that strength is built in fire, not handed on silver platters. Let my granddaughter become who she needs to be before she inherits what I built. Tears streamed down Tiana's face. When can I come? We have a plane waiting at Hartsfield Jackson. Whenever you're ready, Ms. Morrison. Tiana looked around her apartment, at the divorce papers on the counter. In the photo of Kamal that Benjamin had posted yesterday, the boy on Simone's lap at Six Flags is both of them grinning. She looked at her wheelchair, at her broken body, at the life that had tried to destroy her. Tomorrow, she said. I'll come tomorrow. Excellent. Oh, and Ms. Morrison. Yes. Your grandmother left you a personal letter. I think you'll want to read it privately. Now pause right here, because what Tiana's about to read is going to change everything. If you're feeling this story, hit that subscribe button, like, and share this video. And drop a comment telling me, have you ever had someone believe in you when no one else did? Keep watching because this next part will give you chills. The private jet was ridiculous. All cream leather and mahogany. Medical team on standby. Doctor, nurse, physical therapist. Everything accessible, thoughtful. But it was the letter that broke her. Henrik handed it to her once they were airborne. Leather portfolio. Inside, pages written in a fountain pen. The handwriting is elegant, strong. My dearest Tiana, if you're reading this, I'm dead. Good. 92 is long enough. Heaven better have good coffee and none of that decaf nonsense. You don't know me. Your mother made sure of that. She never forgave me for choosing empire over being a proper mother. She wanted me to bake cookies. I was busy building factories. We both made our choices. I regret mine sometimes. But I watched you, child. I have people for that. I watched you grow into someone remarkable. Kind. Smart. Strong. Then I watched you marry that boy, Benjamin Wallace. I had him investigated, of course. Mediocre. Ambitious. The kind of man who marries up and calls it love. I almost intervened. Almost. Then your accident happened. I wanted to send the best doctors, the best equipment, everything. Henrik had to physically stop me. The trust terms, my own rules, ironically, forbade interference before your 35th birthday. So I watched. I watched your husband abandon you, take your son, take your home. I watched him destroy you in that courtroom. And I wanted to buy that judge, that lawyer, that coward you married, and teach them what happens when you cross a Morrison woman. But I didn't. Because you needed to learn something, I learned at 24 when my first husband left me with nothing. The world is cruel to women who fall. But the women who rise, unstoppable. The money is yours now. $987 billion. Morrison International. I built it from one factory floor in Detroit in 1962, when banks wouldn't give black women business loans. Built it through recessions, wars, and racist fools who thought I'd fail. Use it, Tiana. All of it. Not to be comfortable, to be dangerous. Rebuild yourself. Destroy anyone who bet on your destruction. Show your son what a mother looks like when she's backed by steel and stubborn Morrison blood. And that boy who left you? Don't waste time on revenge. Build something so magnificent that he becomes dust. Insignificant. Forgotten. Welcome to the family business, darling. You survived the worst. Now go become legendary. With the love I should have shown sooner. Evelyn. Tiana read it twice, then pressed it to her chest and cried for the grandmother she'd never known, who'd known her better than anyone. When Henrik returned with tea, her tears were gone. Tell me everything, she said. Every company, every asset, every investment. Then tell me how to use it. His smile was sharp. Your grandmother said you'd say exactly that. Zurich was cold. January in Switzerland meant snow on the Alps and business conducted in buildings older than America. But Tiana barely noticed the scenery. She spent 8 weeks in Switzerland learning, planning, and transforming. Morrison International was more than money. It was power. The empire included tech holdings in AI, cybersecurity, and cloud infrastructure. Real estate in every major city worldwide. Green energy companies are supplying power to 9 countries. Media investments in cable networks, streaming platforms, and publishing houses. Pharmaceutical research is saving lives and making billions. And it was all hers. But first, her body. Henrik arranged meetings with the world's top specialists. Dr. Amara Okonkwo from Lagos. Dr. James Chun from Singapore. Dr. Lucia Morales from Barcelona. They reviewed her case. Examined every scan. Then Dr. Okonkwo, 58, with kind eyes, hands that had worked miracles, spoke. The damage is severe, but not impossible. Experimental stem cell therapy combined with nerve stimulation and intensive rehabilitation. We might restore partial function. Medicine is a possibility, not a guarantee. Then I want every possibility. The treatments were brutal. Electrodes attached to her spine. Shocking dead nerves. Physical therapy for 8 hours daily. Pain that made her scream into towels. But Tiana didn't quit. Because Grandma Evelyn's letter was framed in her Swiss hotel room. Build something so magnificent that he becomes dust. 3 months in, her toes moved. 5 months in, her ankles flexed. 8 months later, she stood, holding parallel bars, legs shaking. Dr. Okonkwo and her team holding their breath. She took 1 step, then collapsed, then whispered, again. 12 months after Zurich, Tiana returned to Atlanta, but not as the broken woman who'd left, as someone else entirely. Her new home is a smart mansion in Buckhead. $8.7 million. Skyline views. Every inch is designed for accessibility, but so elegantly you'd never know. The ramps looked like architectural features. The modified kitchen looked like it belonged in Architectural Digest. She could walk now. With a cane for longer distances, but she could walk. The treatments had worked. Not perfectly, not completely, but enough. Enough to stand. Enough to prove every doctor who called it impossible wrong. But here's the thing, nobody in America knew. Tiana had made Henrik and his team sign ironclad NDAs. No press releases. No announcements. No media coverage of the Morrison heir returning to reclaim her empire. She wanted to move in shadows. Study her targets. Build her strategy. Because revenge isn't a sprint. It's architecture. Her first hire, Jasmine Cole, 44. Former federal prosecutor turned private attorney. She destroyed corporations and made CEOs weep. Wore all black and smiled like a panther. You want justice or destruction? Jasmine asked during their first meeting. What's the difference? Justice is legal and clean. Destruction is personal and permanent. I can give you both, but you need to tell me which feeds your soul. Everything, Tiana said. I want him to lose everything he took from me, and I want him to know exactly who took it back. Jasmine's smile widened. Music to my ears. Second hire, Darius Knight. 29. Tech genius. Former Google engineer who got bored making billionaires richer and started freelancing for people with interesting problems. Your ex-husband, Darius said, fingers flying across keyboards, is embarrassingly sloppy digitally. His passwords are variations of his birthday and your anniversary, which is both pathetic and telling. I've got access to everything. Everything. Bank accounts, emails, business files, even his Spotify. He's been listening to a lot of sad R&B lately. 23 hours last month. Either he's really into the genre, or things with the influencer aren't as perfect as Instagram suggests. Tiana filed that information away like ammunition. Third hire, Nyla Washington. 38. Private investigator. Former Secret Service. If Darius found digital secrets, Nyla found physical ones. Simone Carter. Nyla reported 3 weeks into surveillance. Real name, Simone Caldwell. Changed it to sound more bougie. She's from Macon, Georgia. Father's not a fitness guru. He owns a failing used car lot and owes the IRS $280,000. Does Benjamin know? Benjamin thinks he married up. She's been selling him a fantasy since day one. Meanwhile, she's got $267,000 in credit card debt across 14 cards. Her designer bags, rented or knockoffs. Her rich friends, paid actors for photo ops. Her followers, 68% bots. Perfect. Fourth hire, Dr. Malcolm Reed. 36. Physical therapist. The man helping Tiana regain mobility. Brilliant, patient, kind in ways that felt like sunlight after years of darkness. Their relationship started professionally, then became friendship, then something more. You're staring, Tiana said one evening after a brutal session. You're remarkable. I'm really not. You went from wheelchair to walking in under a year. You're rebuilding an empire most people don't even know exists. You're raising a son despite everything. You're extraordinary. Keep talking like that, and I might start believing you. He reached across the parallel bar and took her hand. Good. You should. 6 months into knowing each other, they were serious. Malcolm had met Kamal during one of Tiana's supervised visits. The boy loved him immediately. Malcolm taught him about bones and muscles, made science fun, never tried to replace Benjamin, but filled the spaces Benjamin had left empty. Tiana had learned something crucial. You don't heal by finding someone to fix you. You heal by becoming whole on your own. And then, if you're lucky, you find someone who celebrates that wholeness. Alright, y'all. This is where things get really good. If you're still with me, drop a comment saying, I'm here for it, and let me know. Have you ever had a comeback that shocked everyone? Stay tuned because Tiana's about to make some moves. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Benjamin's company, Wallace Capital Group, had been thriving. At least on the surface. He'd been making deals. Big ones. Contracts with corporate clients who seemed to appear out of nowhere with deep pockets and interesting opportunities. What Benjamin didn't know, every single one of those contracts came from Morrison International subsidiaries. Tiana had been feeding him business for 9 months. Small at first, then larger, letting him think he was finally making it, letting his ego inflate like a balloon. The contracts were legitimate. Real work. Real money. She wasn't setting him up for failure through fraud. She was setting him up for dependency. Wallace Capital's revenue had tripled. Benjamin hired more staff, leased a bigger office in Buckhead, and bought a new Range Rover. Simone posted photos constantly. Their empire. Their success. Their blessed life. Then Tiana cut the oxygen. Every contract was cancelled. Breach clauses were activated where applicable. New opportunities mysteriously evaporated. Corporate clients who'd been responsive went silent. In 3 weeks, Wallace Capital went from thriving to drowning. Benjamin's first response was confusion. He made calls, Sent emails, got voicemails, and received auto-responses. His accountant, frazzled, showed him the numbers. Revenue down 81%. Overhead still climbing. Payroll in 2 weeks with nothing to cover it. What the hell happened? Benjamin demanded in a staff meeting that Nyla had bugged. His operations manager, loyal but exhausted, looked defeated. I don't know. It's like every major client coordinated to drop us simultaneously. The timing's too perfect to be a coincidence. Then find out who's behind it. I've tried. These corporations are mazes. Shell companies within holding groups within international conglomerates. I can't trace the decision makers. Because the decision maker was sitting in Buckhead, drinking tea, watching her ex-husband panic through surveillance footage, feeling absolutely nothing. The biggest contract Benjamin had landed, the one that was supposed to save him, was a renovation of Westside Community Hospital. The $38 million project. His largest ever. The contract came through 7 months ago from a foundation Benjamin had never heard of, the Morrison Humanitarian Foundation. He'd been so excited about the money, he hadn't researched the client. Mistake. Because the foundation was Tiana's. Well, Evelyn's originally, but now Tiana's. And Darius had found something interesting in Wallace Capital's internal files. He's cutting corners, Darius said, showing Tiana the documents on her office screens. Massively. The ventilation systems are supposed to be medical grade with HEPA filtration. He's using standard commercial grade. 43% cheaper. Completely inadequate for a hospital. Tiana's blood went cold. People could die. Yeah. And one of the floors is being renovated? The pediatric wing. Where sick kids are fighting for their lives. Where Kamal might end up if, God forbid, anything ever happened. Benjamin was risking children's lives to pad his profit margins. Give me everything, Tiana said, voice ice cold. Every document, every email, every text where he discusses cutting corners. And get me the city inspector's schedule. Jasmine filed a complaint through official channels, anonymous but airtight. Nyla ensured photos of the substandard work leaked to the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. The city building inspector, who'd been mysteriously slow to investigate, suddenly had the mayor's office breathing down his neck after a call from a city councilwoman who owed the Morrison Foundation a very large favor. The inspection happened on a Thursday. By Friday, the project was shut down. Red tags everywhere. A criminal investigation was opened for fraudulent contracting and endangering public safety. By Saturday, Benjamin's face was all over the news. Investment executive faces hospital safety violations. Children's ward at risk. The public outrage was nuclear. Simone started changing 3 months into Wallace Capital's collapse. The sweetness evaporated. The Instagram-perfect girlfriend became something else. You said you were successful, she hissed at Benjamin one night. Nyla had planted audio devices in their Alpharetta rental. They'd lost the townhouse. I was. This is temporary. Temporary? Your company's being investigated for almost killing children. Do you know what this does to my brand? I have sponsors. Had sponsors. Dropped me this week because I'm associated with you. Simone, please. I gave up a relationship with Terrence for you. Terrence Monroe. Music producer. Working with actual celebrities. And you're what? A washed-up con artist who can't even renovate a hospital properly. That's not fair. What's not fair is you lying to me. You said your ex-wife was some pathetic, disabled woman with nothing. You made it sound like you were the victim. Now I find out she left you. That you're the one who cheated. Benjamin froze. What are you talking about? I talked to people. Your old friends. They said she filed after your affair. That you're the one who destroyed your marriage. Lies. Tiana had planted those lies through Nyla's network. Easy when you know the right people. Rewriting history one whisper at a time. I filed. Whatever. I don't even care anymore. She gestured at their modest rental, at Benjamin in sweatpants instead of designer suits. This isn't what I signed up for. She started going out. Coming home late. Then not at all. Benjamin tried calling and texting. She'd leave him on read for days. Then came the photos posted on a gossip blog. Simone is at a rooftop party in Midtown with Terrence Monroe. His arm around her. Her head on his shoulder. Caption on her Instagram. Sometimes the universe corrects your mistakes. Folded hands sparkles. No mention of Benjamin. No explanation. Just gone. Benjamin called her. Voicemail. Texted. Nothing. Drove to her place, the apartment he'd been paying for. Locks changed. Security had instructions. Miss Carter is not receiving visitors. He'd been erased. Abandoned. Made irrelevant. Exactly like he'd done to Tiana. The financial collapse was surgical. Jasmine's team had been working in the background for months, quietly buying up Benjamin's debts through shell companies that couldn't be traced to Morrison International. Every loan Wallace Capital had taken, Morrison owned now. Every line of credit, Morrison controlled. Every business relationship, Morrison influenced. When Jasmine activated the trap, it was surgical. All debts are called simultaneously. All credit lines frozen. All business accounts are locked pending irregularity investigations. Wallace Capital collapsed in 72 hours. Bankruptcy filed. Assets seized. Staff were laid off. Office closed. Benjamin lost everything. The Range Rover? Repossessed. The Alpharetta rental? Evicted. His reputation? Destroyed. He moved back to his parents' house in Decatur. 38 years old. His mother answered the door when creditors came calling, saying her son was going through a difficult time. Kamal, now 6, hadn't seen his father in 2 months. Benjamin kept canceling supervised visits. Too ashamed. Too broken. The boy would ask Tiana, "Why doesn't Daddy come anymore?" And Tiana would hold him and say, "Sometimes grown-ups have to figure things out, baby. But I'm here. Always." That part hurt. Not for Benjamin's sake, but for Kamal's. But children are resilient, especially when they have one parent who's solid ground. Benjamin figured it out 11 months after everything fell apart. He was working at a Quick Trip in Decatur. Graveyard shift. Stocking shelves. Wearing a polo with his name stitched on it. When he saw the television in the break room. CNN Business News. Breaking. Morrison International announces new CEO. Tiana Morrison to lead nearly $1 trillion empire in radical accessibility initiative. The screen showed a press conference. Buckhead. Massive venue. And there was Tiana. Standing at a podium. Using a cane, yes, but standing. Wearing a power suit that probably cost more than his parents' mortgage. Hair elegant. Posture confident. Radiating authority. The room was full of journalists, corporate executives, and city officials. She was speaking. "My grandmother, Evelyn Morrison, built this empire from a single factory floor when banks wouldn't loan to black women. She taught me that falling doesn't define you. Rising does." Benjamin's knees went weak. "I fell hard. Lost my ability to walk. Lost my marriage. Lost almost everything." A pause. The room is silent. "But I'm here now. And Morrison International is launching a $6.2 billion initiative to revolutionize disability accessibility worldwide. We're funding research for spinal injury treatments, building universal design into every project we touch, creating opportunities for people society has written off." A reporter asked, "There are rumors you went through a difficult divorce during your recovery. Care to comment?" Tiana's smile was gracious but cold. "I could say that sometimes people show you who they really are when you need them most. I'm grateful for that clarity. It freed me to become who I was always meant to be." The camera panned the audience. Gasps. Whispers. Another reporter. "And the estimated value of your inheritance? $987 billion. Which sounds overwhelming until you realize it's just a tool. The question isn't how much you have, it's what you build with it." Benjamin stood in that break room, wearing a polyester uniform, watching his ex-wife command a room of the world's most powerful people. The math hit him like a freight train. The contracts are drying up. The hospital investigation. The debts are being called. Simone's sudden exit. The systematic destruction of everything he'd built. Tiana had done this. All of it. The woman he'd called broken had orchestrated his complete annihilation. And he'd never seen it coming. Y'all, pause. Because what happens next is going to floor you. If the story has you on the edge of your seat, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications because you do not want to miss how this ends. Drop a comment telling me what you would do if you were Tiana. Keep watching. Benjamin showed up at Morrison International Headquarters 2 days later. The building was glass and steel. 43 stories. Tiana's name on the directory. He demanded to see her. Security, polite but immovable, said he wasn't on any visitor list. Tell her it's Benjamin Wallace. Tell her I know what she did. The guard made a call. Waited. Then, Ms. Morrison will see you. 43rd floor. The elevator ride felt like ascending to judgment. The executive suite was breathtaking. Art that belonged in museums. Views of Atlanta spreading out like a kingdom below. And Tiana, behind a desk of polished walnut, wearing confidence like armor. Benjamin, this is unexpected. You ruined me. His voice shook. Everything that happened, the contracts, the investigation, the debts. Simone, that was you. Was it? Her face was unreadable. Don't play games. I know. The timing. The precision. It has your fingerprints all over it. She stood slowly, walked to the window with her cane. Atlanta glittering 43 stories below. You destroyed me when I was at my lowest, she said quietly. Took my son, my home, my dignity. Called me broken in a courtroom while your mistress waited outside. Told a judge I was unfit to be a mother because I couldn't walk. I made mistakes. You made choices. She turned. Her eyes were steel. Calculated ones. You chose to cheat while I was in the hospital. You chose to file for divorce instead of honoring your vows. You chose to humiliate me publicly while rebuilding your life with someone else. So you destroyed my entire life? That's your revenge. No, Benjamin. Her voice was ice. I rebuilt mine. Your life destroyed itself. I just stopped propping it up. The contracts were yours to manage. You took them for granted. Cut corners. Endangered children to increase profit margins. I didn't make you do that. Your greed did. The hospital investigation was legally necessary. Should I have let a faulty building open? Let children die to protect your reputation. The debts are legitimate. You borrowed money. I bought those debts legally. That's business. And Simone? She left you the same way she found you, cheating on someone vulnerable. Poetic, really? Benjamin collapsed into a chair. What do you want from me? Nothing. The word was final. Absolute. That's what you never understood. I don't need anything from you. Not apologies. Not acknowledgement. Not closure. You're irrelevant to my life now. Kamal is thriving. Great school. Mother who adores him. Opportunities you could never provide. What he doesn't have is a father who shows up. The words hit like bullets. I want to see him. Then see him. I've never blocked your custody. You cancel visits. You stop calling. You disappear because facing your son was harder than wallowing in self-pity. How do I fix this? Tiana returned to her desk. Pressed a button. Security appeared. Goodbye, Benjamin. Tiana, please. You asked what I want. I want nothing from you. But Kamal needs a father who acts like one. Not for my benefit, for his. If you want to fix anything, start there. Everything else is your burden to carry. Security escorted him out. 3 weeks later, Jasmine delivered an envelope to Benjamin's parents' house. Inside, a letter on Morrison International letterhead. Position offer, Facilities Manager, Westside Community Hospital. Salary, $54,000 per year plus benefits. Responsibilities, oversee maintenance and safety compliance of hospital facilities. Ensure all construction and renovation projects meet or exceed medical safety standards. Special conditions. First, employee must complete 250 hours of community education regarding disability accessibility, medical safety standards, and ethical construction practices. Secondly, The employee will participate in the rebuilding of the pediatric wing as part of a restorative justice program under supervision. Thirdly, this position is offered instead of criminal prosecution. Acceptance constitutes acknowledgement of previous wrongdoing and commitment to making amends. At the bottom, handwritten in Tiana's script, this isn't charity. It's a chance to rebuild your character, not just your bank account. The work is honest. The purpose is real. Whether you become someone worth knowing is entirely up to you. Benjamin stared at the letter for hours. It was humiliating. Facilities manager. Blue-collar work. Nothing like the executive life he'd built. But it was also honest. Real. Important. And it was more than he deserved. He called the number listed. Accepted the position. Started the following Monday. Hard hat. Work boots. Actual labor. Checking HVAC systems. Electrical panels. Learning building codes he should have known before. It wasn't his empire. Wasn't the life he'd imagined. But maybe it was a foundation to build something real. Kamal was almost 7 now. Perceptive. Thoughtful. Old enough to understand more than adults realize. He sat with Tiana one evening in their Buckhead home. Hot chocolate and homework. Atlanta's skyline disarc and vast beyond the windows. Mom. Yeah. Baby? Why doesn't Daddy live with us? The question she knew was coming. She chose her words carefully. Your dad and I loved each other once. Very much. But sometimes people change. Sometimes they stop being good for each other. That doesn't mean we don't both love you. But he doesn't visit much. I know. That's something he has to work on. Not you. You didn't do anything wrong. Kamal was quiet, thinking. You use your cane less now. I do. I've been working really hard. Daddy left when you couldn't walk. Did he leave because you were hurt? Children. They see everything. Tiana pulled him close. Sort of. But that's about who he was, not about what I deserved or what you deserved. Some people stay when things get hard. Some people run. The ones who stay, those are your real family. You stayed. Even when you were hurt badly, you stayed with me. Always, Kamal. Always. Malcolm stays too. She smiled. He does. I like Malcolm. He makes you laugh. And he taught me about bones. He's pretty great, isn't he? Yeah. Kamal hugged her tight. I think you're like a superhero. You got hurt really bad, and you still got back up. That's what superheroes do. Tiana's eyes burned with tears she wouldn't let fall. You know what? You're my superhero. You stayed brave and kind through everything. That's harder than anything I did. 8 months after Benjamin started at Westside Hospital, Tiana took Kamal to Piedmont Park. Saturday. Sunny. Perfect Atlanta weather that felt like a postcard. Malcolm was with them. He and Tiana had been together for over a year now. Serious. Committed. Kamal adored him. Malcolm had taught the boy about stars and constellations and how to throw a proper football. They were laughing about something, Kamal's terrible knock-knock joke, when Tiana saw him. Benjamin. Walking alone. He looked different. Thinner. Older. Wearing jeans and a Westside Hospital polo instead of designer everything. He looked humbled. Changed. He saw them at the same moment. His face went through several emotions. Shock. Pain. Something that might have been regret. Kamal noticed. Daddy. The boy ran to him. Benjamin caught him, hugging him tight, and Tiana saw genuine emotion crack his face. Hey buddy. Wow, you got big. I'm almost 7. Did you know some dinosaurs had hollow bones like birds? Malcolm told me. Benjamin looked at Malcolm. Malcolm extended his hand. Good to meet you. Kamal talks about you. Good things, I hope. Honest things. He loves you. The words were sincere. No threat. Malcolm was secure. He had Tiana's heart, and he knew it. I should let you get back to your day, Benjamin said. Daddy, can you come to my birthday? Mom's renting the whole science museum. Benjamin looked at Tiana. She nodded. You're welcome. If you want. I want to. Thank you. Kamal chattered for another minute about dinosaurs and planets and all the beautiful chaos of childhood. Then they said goodbye. Tiana watched Benjamin walk away, alone, diminished, but maybe, becoming someone better. You okay? Malcolm asked softly. Yeah, I am. That was kind. Inviting him. It's not for him. It's for Kamal. Every kid deserves a father who tries. You're remarkable, you know that? She smiled. You might have mentioned it once or twice. Kamal's 7th birthday was extraordinary. Tiana rented the Fernbank Museum of Natural History. 200 guests, classmates, friends, teachers, planetarium show, interactive exhibits, a cake designed like the solar system with edible planets. Benjamin arrived alone, bought a gift, a book about space exploration, carefully chosen, wrapped by hand. Kamal's face lit up. Thanks, Dad. This is so cool. Happy birthday, buddy. Tiana approached. They stood awkwardly. Years of history between them. Love, betrayal, destruction, rebuilding. He's happy, Benjamin said, watching Kamal show Malcolm the book, both of them laughing. He is. You did that. Gave him stability when I couldn't. We both did, in different ways. Benjamin looked at her, really looked, saw the strength in her posture, the confidence in her eyes, the life she'd built from ashes. I was wrong, he said quietly. About everything. About you. About what mattered. I threw away something real for something fake. And I spend every day understanding what I lost. You lost yourself, Benjamin. Not me. I was always going to be fine. You're the one who had to figure out who you wanted to be. I'm trying. The job at Westside is honest work. Important. I'm actually helping people. Good. Are you happy, Tiana? She looked at Malcolm helping Kamal adjust a telescope. Looked at her son's pure joy. Looked at the life she'd built with her own scarred hands. Yeah, I really am. You deserve it. He said it like a confession. Like absolution he didn't expect. So do you. Eventually. It was forgiveness. Not complete. Maybe never complete. But it was released. The recognition that they'd both been broken people who'd shattered each other. And now they were rebuilding separately. That was enough. Tiana stood at the National Association of Black Business Owners Conference in Washington, D.C. She'd been invited to speak about disability innovation and corporate responsibility. The room held 4,000 people. Entrepreneurs, CEOs, changemakers. She wore midnight blue, walked without her cane. She rarely needed it anymore. Her recovery had been called miraculous by the medical journals that documented it. My grandmother told me that strength isn't falling, she said to the assembly. It's rising when everyone bets you won't. 4 years ago I fell, lost my ability to walk, lost my marriage, lost myself. The room was silent. But I had advantages that many don't. Resources, support, opportunities. And I realized, not everyone gets that. So Morrison International's mission is simple. We catch people when they fall, and we help them rise. She outlined initiatives. $8.4 billion committed to accessibility worldwide. Research funding for spinal cord regeneration. Universal design mandates for all Morrison construction projects. Scholarship programs for disabled students. The applause was thunderous. But the real moment came after. During the press conference. A journalist asked, "Your ex-husband recently gave an interview saying you taught him what real strength looks like. Any response?" Tiana paused. She'd seen that interview. Benjamin on a podcast talking about his mistakes, owning them, explaining how his own cruelty had taught him what he'd taken for granted. "I hope he's become someone better," she said simply. "For his sake and for our sons. Everyone deserves a chance to grow from their worst moments." Did you plan your success as revenge? No. I planned my success as survival. If that looks like revenge to the people who counted me out, that says more about them than it does about me. Perfect answer. The clip went viral. That night, back in her hotel, Malcolm called. "You were brilliant. You're biased, but also correct." He paused. "I have a question." "Okay. What would you say if I asked you to marry me?" Her heart stopped, started, soared. I'd say ask me in person so I can say yes properly. I'm outside your door. She opened it. He was there, on one knee, holding a ring, grinning like he'd won the lottery. Tiana Morrison, you're the strongest, most extraordinary person I've ever met. Will you marry me? Yes, absolutely yes. 2 years later, the wedding was small, intimate, just family and close friends. Stone Mountain Park, Georgia sunshine, live band playing Motown classics. Kamal was the ring bearer, taking his job very seriously. He walked Tiana down the aisle, symbolic, beautiful. Both of them were crying happy tears. Malcolm's vows made everyone weep. You taught me that strength isn't what you can lift. It's what you refuse to put down. You refuse to put down your dreams, your son, yourself. And I'm honored to spend my life being strong enough to deserve you. Benjamin wasn't there, hadn't been invited, but he'd sent a gift, a letter for Kamal to be opened when he turned 18, explaining everything, owning his mistakes, expressing love. It was more than Tiana expected, maybe more than Benjamin had in him. At the reception, Tiana stood with her grandmother's letter, still framed, still treasured. Build something so magnificent that he becomes a footnote. She'd done it. Benjamin wasn't her villain anymore. He was barely a memory, just a chapter in her origin story. The antagonist who'd accidentally forged a hero. Her phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. Congratulations. Kamal showed me photos. You look beautiful. You deserve every happiness. She smiled. Deleted it. Not from anger. From freedom. Because the greatest revenge isn't destruction. It's becoming so completely whole, so genuinely happy, so magnificently successful that your past can't even touch the future you've built. Tiana Morrison had fallen, and then she'd risen so high that falling became impossible. She looked at Malcolm, Kamal, at the life she'd built with her own scarred, powerful hands. And she understood Grandma Evelyn's final lesson. The people who abandon you when you're broken don't get to celebrate when you're whole. Your victory doesn't require their applause. It just requires your refusal to stay down. So there it is, y'all. Tiana went from wheelchair to wealth. From abandoned to unstoppable. From victim to victory. What's the lesson? Simple. The people who count you out don't get to count your wins. Your comeback doesn't need their permission. Just your determination. If the story hit you right in the heart, if you've ever been underestimated and proved them wrong, drop a comment with your story. Share this with someone who needs to hear that their story isn't over yet. And subscribe, hit that bell because we tell stories about real resilience, real justice, and real redemption here. Remember, you're not broken. You're not finished. You're just getting started. The people who wrote you off, they're about to learn what happens when you write your own ending. Thank you for watching till the very end. Thank you for being part of this journey. Now go out there and become so extraordinary that your doubters become irrelevant. See you in the next story. Peace.